new moon in Pisces. This is a really, really big one, okay? And if you've got anything in Pisces, it's going to affect you, because we've got so much stuff happening in Pisces. We've got obviously the sun and the moon, so that's what a new moon is, okay? So it's when the sun and the moon are conjunct or next to each other. We've also got Saturn, Mercury and Neptune, which is the ruler of Pisces. We've got the ruler of Pisces in its own sign, at the very end of the sign, and the north node of the moon. Okay, so it's this whole flush of Piscean energy. You know, like I could just talk about the Pisces archetype today and that would be a good enough video for this moon. But let's break it down. So what is a new moon? A new moon is a day to set intentions about how we're going to relate to that particular archetype. And the archetype of Pisces is a very broad one. It's sometimes called the dustbin of the zodiac, Pisces. If you imagine the wheel of the zodiac as a story, right? We start from Aries, which is the birth. Then we go into Taurus, which is all about finding out our values and material, discovering we're in the material world, etc., etc. We go around the whole wheel. By the time we get to Pisces, we're not in those personal concerns anymore. We're in those transpersonal concerns, okay? So I feel like on this day, just energetically, we're all going to be super connected. And we are already, guys, but there's just so much Pisces energy on this day. And this is a day to make a decision about how you want to relate to that energy. Some people have compared the Pisces archetype to standing on the edge of a cliff, right? And just contemplating the abyss. And on a soul level, it's like we want to dive in and just be the one with everything, with God. But, you know, we all have egos, which is fine. And there's that part of us just hanging on for dear life. You know, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to vanish if this happens. So this is a really good day to see if anything can be solved by sharing it with something bigger than yourself. Okay, so it could be your sense of the divine or a higher power or something. That could be nature or whatever you want it to be. But, you know, I heard this quote a couple of years ago. It said, share your lack or share your poverty or something with God, because he has none of it. And I love that quote, because this is what this is very much about, is that seeing that my little problems are not really mine, and whatever I'm experiencing, there's someone else in the world experiencing it, okay? So it's consciously forging that connection with the oneness, the unity, the fact that we're all one, okay? And this is very much to do with what some people call non-duality, which is something that was a big part of my path for a few years. And this is the message, that this idea that, in my case, Jeremy is a separate self and was born and he has to fend for himself all his life in this separation, right? This competition with others. All of that is actually illusory. When I really look at this Jeremy idea, it's really just an idea, which is the same idea as, it's actually the same when you really think about it, as I want to have a cup of tea or something like that, or this pencil. When you really, really boil it down, when you really examine it, it's pathetic. Like it's sellotaped together, this idea that we take so seriously, and it causes so much suffering. And also when we're born, it's not there. It's something we learn. I think it's about 18 months that we learn this idea of separation. These are really, really good things to think about on this day. We are in the middle of a massive collective shift. So there's 3 outer planets, Pluto, Neptune and Uranus. And because they move so slowly, where they are in the zodiac very much describes collective themes, okay? And we've got something really interesting happening at the moment, because within quite a short space of time, an unusually short space of time, all 3 of the outer planets are moving into new signs, okay? And what's really interesting is that they're moving from yin signs, which is much more the flowing, the yielding, to yang signs, okay? So there's going to be this massive collective theme of action and instigation and just doing things, like making things happen ourselves. And it started with Pluto. So Pluto's moved into Aquarius. He was darting 2 and 4th last year. Now he's settled into Aquarius. And at the end of March, Neptune, which, as I said, is the ruler of Pisces, is going to move into Aries. So what's Neptune all about? Neptune's all about our collective dreams, our collective hopes, our collective aspirations. And he's been in his own sign of Pisces since 2011. So I was talking about this the other day, how there were a lot of astrologers saying there was going to be a huge spiritual shift during this time, which I think is true as well. But there's also been this bloom in, let's say, the shadow side of Neptune and Pisces, which is the victim consciousness, which is very rooted in separation, isn't it? So yeah, tune into that as well. Like, how have you been relating to that since 2011, and how do you want to go forward with that? Because this is a really important day, because, Pisces is such a yin energy. It's all about surrendering and merging to the divine. And we're coming into a year where we're going to be anything but, for the next at least decade, because Uranus is the fastest moving of the outer planets. He's going to be there for at least a decade in Gemini. So this is almost like one last chance to really tune into that gorgeous feminine love that's available to us in any moment. And this moon has a lot to do with manifestation as well, because we've got Saturn. He's very widely conjunct, but he's still conjunct the sun and the moon. Saturn's the 3D, the form, the matter of fact, and Pisces is the dream. So there's a real opportunity here to dream as big as you dare. I mean, just take it to a whole new level. The other thing about Pisces and Neptune is about projection. And I'm going to share something with you. I was talking to a good friend the other day. We were talking about manifestation and abundance, and the fact that we are all inherently abundant, and that poverty is an illusion which we've actually created, and that we're all abundant, and that includes financially. Everything's just available to you. But that what we do is we make a decision, oh no, I'm not worthy of that, And one of the things we were talking about is how you can project onto other people who are, let's say, more successful than you. Oh, well, they've got it, they were born into it, or blah, 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 whatever happens. But we were talking, because we're both interested in non-duality, we were saying, well, no, look at that person, and if it's true that there's no separation, see that could be you as well. Because this is actually true. That could be you as well. There's nothing in between you, really. It's a really interesting way to look at this from the non-dual perspective as regards manifestation and wealth consciousness and abundance consciousness. And it's actually very relevant to this moon, with Saturn right next to the sun and moon. Well, not right next to, but it's conjunct. It's good enough. We've also got a trine from Mars. Mars is just turning direct, only a couple of days before the moon, this new moon. And he's in Cancer, so they're very, very conducive to taking action on this vision as well. Just taking one tiny action that closes that gap between the dream and the reality, Saturn, okay? And because they're both in water signs, this is very much to do with using the emotions, using the power of emotions. There's a lot of manifestation people who talk about emotions and how important they are in manifestation, how you feel about the thing you want, and that it's actually the emotional imprint that's attracting that new reality. But this is especially true on this new moon, okay? We also have a square aspect from Jupiter and Gemini. This is a bit more difficult, and this might bring in some restlessness. I feel like with this Piscean energy, you're going to be getting all these downloads and all these new perspectives, right? By the way, Jupiter is the old ruler of Pisces, so Jupiter's actually very relevant, his placement, in any Pisces situation. And what might be happening here is that you get all these new perspectives, all these, downloads. Think about the hangman in the tarot. He's upside down. He's seeing things from a completely different perspective. Okay, that's the Pisces card. And it might be overwhelming, and it might be that you feel like, oh yeah, that's who I am, I want to settle on that. And then 10 minutes later, just like a bee darting around or a butterfly, you're like, oh no, I want to be that. So I think what I'd say is just let them all flow, just let them all be, let them all flow. I've got quite a restless mind on most days. And one of the things I like to do is to write things down, like if I want to do something but I get distracted, I'll just write it down, and then I can tell my mind, okay, it's there, don't worry, let's just carry on with the task in hand, and it's there for us, okay? So I'd really recommend doing this and in the day and the days following this new moon, because I feel like you're going to get all these downloads and information and little tidbits, right, Gemini? Lots of little pieces about how the next timeline is going to look. So yeah, write them down and don't get too attached to them, okay? Jupiter expands whatever he touches or whatever he's interacting with. So he's just ramping up this energy of like, you know, higher consciousness. So it might be quite restless, I'll be honest with you. So yeah, I think this is a very important moment collectively for us to just bathe in those waters of the divine, of your higher self, whatever you consider to be a loving higher power, which again, it could be nature or the sea or something like that, that's fine. God is the word I use. And I want you to, in this new moon, whatever projects you have, whatever plans you have, I want you to practice giving them to God, because that's a part of manifestation as well. So we have the idea, we do all the actions, we become that person. That's a really good thing to do. We become that person who's already got it. This is very Piscean actually, because Pisces is all about the energy. But then I want you to do the crucial final step, which is to give it over. Just surrender it, let it go, give it to God, okay? Because this is really one last shot. This is one last opportunity we're being given whilst we're in this, symbolically, this womb, which is the Pisces, before we rebirth into Aries, right? Before Neptune comes into Aries and all these outer planets move into this yang energy throughout the year. It's a really, really good moment to just tune in and just get super sensitive to your body and what it's telling you and those little intuitions, because they're going to be right, okay? So write them down, just give them some credence, take heed from them, okay? And get used to trusting. Pisces is very much about redemption as well, right? So it can have that kind of prodigal son energy, that this kind of redemption by the divine, you know, some kind of divine intervention. All of this is up for grabs today, okay? So just dream what you want to dream, and then trust and just hand the whole thing over, everything, as much as you can, okay? Have a wonderful day. Much love.